About a year ago, I made a series of videos talking about why reverse grip with the sword doesn't work. I hit a number of points and was pretty thorough on it, and I felt like my conclusions were pretty good. And not only did I talk about it, but I actually demonstrated with another partner fencing why it wouldn't work. But I still am getting comments about how I'm wrong. A lot of people like to criticize my methodology, they like to criticize the fact that I don't train regularly with reverse grip, and a host of other things. But here's the thing. Almost everybody who's criticizing me doesn't give me any video proof of reverse grip working. It's all hearsay, it's all anecdotal, it's things like showing a picture from an ancient manuscript or telling about how their style is etc., or somebody using a sword to cut a water bottle. No one fully geared up fencing or fighting another person in any style with any weapon that is longer than a knife. And I've even gone as far as making a dual request form to allow people who believe that reverse grip works to come and prove themselves against me, but I have not yet had one serious taker. Now I know I'm a smaller YouTube channel, so that might not mean much, but the lack of reverse grip representation in the wider world with video evidence, more than just a little clip of it working once, but actual footage of people sparring is staggering. It just doesn't exist, and I've looked. The most I can find are people who are LARPing using it, and they have mixed results, but LARPing is a game with a rule system. It's not really an accurate representation of combat. I want fully geared up people actually sparring, and it doesn't exist. So, if you want something done right, you've got to do it yourself. I'm about to embark on a year-long adventure. I am going to try and learn how to use reverse grip. I'm going to systematically approach this in 4 different areas. First, I'm going to explore biomechanical movement and experimentation. I'm going to use my 20+ years of martial arts and movement experience to see how this works by experimenting in different ways, both solo drilling and with an opponent. I'm then going to try and find an in-person or online teacher who I can learn directly from, someone who thinks and truly believes that reverse grip is a viable fighting style. I'm going to learn from source that is another person. The next area I'm going to look into is through written or picture learning. I'm going to try and find manuals and manuscripts, things that detail different reverse grip techniques, and I'm going to reconstruct them both in solo situations and with an opponent. And lastly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to reverse engineer things that I know work, such as reverse grip knife techniques, which is a real thing that has a lot of video evidence and just practical evidence. It's been around for a long time. I'm going to reverse engineer those things that are made for a very short blade and see if I can get them to work with a longer blade. I'm going to be using long swords, katanas, short swords, espada, all sorts of different weapons that I've been told work in reverse grip. I'm going to be experimenting with all sorts of different myths that I've been told reverse grip works for, like a defensive style, like a hyper-agile style, like a hyper-aggressive style, using it one hand in forward grip and an offhand in reverse grip, using double reverse grip, using a very acrobatic style. I'm going to hit everything, and I'm going to show you my results. I'm going to show you my weekly training regimen. I'm going to show you my training matches and my sparring matches with my sparring partner. I'm going to document this for a whole year, and then I'm going to give you the results. I think that I am a great candidate to do this experiment. While I'm not the biggest and fastest person out there, I am pretty athletic. If you've been watching my channel for the last year or so, you've seen me do a ton of fencing, a bunch of flips and other acrobatics, and crazy stunts. So that level of athleticism is going to aid in this experiment. I think it's going to give it a level of credibility. I also have been doing martial arts for over 20 years in a variety of different weapons and styles, and that well of experience is going to allow me to give this experiment the best shot it has got. Additionally, almost all of my martial arts experience, especially when it comes to weapons-based martial arts, is combat experience, which means I'm not doing forms and solo drilling only. I am actively fighting another person in either sparring or fencing, which means that when I take this and actually apply it, it's not going to just be theoretical, it's going to be practical. Now, even with all of this, there's going to be people who disagree with me. They're going to tell me that I went into this experiment with a bias against reverse grip, so I'm not going to give it a proper chance. They're going to tell me that I don't have specific knowledge of the martial arts that use reverse grip, so I'm not going to accurately portray them. And they're also going to tell me that a year is not long enough for me to learn a new technique. And to all 3 of those things, I say no. Firstly, I am about to dedicate a non-insignificant portion of an entire year of my life to this experiment. I'm going to do it right, and I'm really going to try and give reverse grip a chance. Secondly, I've learned multiple different martial arts in different styles with different weapons before, and I can do it again. As we've already talked about in this channel, martial arts are more similar than they are different because of human biomechanics. So it's not like I am learning an entire new thing. I know the basics of this already. I've just got to adapt it to see if it works. And third, if I can't learn something as simple as a grip switch in 1 year, that means it's not effective. If I'm looking at this from a training perspective, I need to train soldiers and warriors in this technique, and if it takes longer than a year to get the basics down and make it somewhat effective, it's not a viable technique. Think about basic training for an army unit. It's probably about 6 months. If I can't get this to kind of work in 6 months with the 20 years of martial arts that I already have under my belt, it's not going to be that effective. So with all of that said, I invite you to join me on this great experiment as I take the next year of my life to try and figure out if reverse grip is fact or fiction. I'm going to document my process. I'm going to show you the things I'm doing to learn it. I'm going to explain all of my different methods. I'm going to show you sparring matches and practice, and we are really going to sink our teeth into finding out once and for all if reverse grip is a viable tactic. So like, subscribe, ring the bell, all that nonsense, and join me on the great reverse grip experiment.